Hi everyone, this is APO Sports, and that's it. That's the ball game. Just like that, the Dodgers take a commanding 3-0 lead in the series, and now in the driver's seat to make it to the World Series for the second year in a row. Uh, Tough for the Milwaukee Brewers because it's going to require a historic comeback, the likes that we've only seen once in the entirety of Major League Baseball history, when the Red Sox defeated the New York Yankees back in 2004, coming back from 03, and to make it to the World Series and winning the World Series. And that Red Sox team was loaded. They had David Ortiz, Manny Ramirez, Johnny Damon, all kinds of crazy clutch hitters in that series. And I don't know if the Brewers have that kind of firepower, but unless something crazy happens, it appears that the Dodgers will be headed back to the World Series. This game, the pitching again, Tyler Glasnow was really good. I mean, he did the job that he's supposed to do. He made it to the sixth inning, just 1 out away from being able to get out of that. But then he walked Vaughn, I think, and so he wasn't able to complete at least the sixth inning. I'm pretty sure that he wanted that. But then you say, "Oh, here we go. We gotta get to that bullpen," and the bullpen actually responds. Right? They go scoreless for the rest of the time, and the Dodgers are able to win the game 3-1. So just a great collective win by the Dodgers. The offense wasn't too impressive, but they did just enough, what they needed to do, just enough to be able to win the game, and that's all you can ask for with some timely hitting. And we'll get into the offense a little bit more in depth here as we go player by player when we do our chessboard baseball analysis. So let's get into that. The first player that we're going to analyze, that we always do, is Shohei Ohtani, since he hits leadoff. And for him, I was pretty critical of Shohei Ohtani, and I need to just quickly set the record straight. I was critical, fairly enough. I'm evaluating the NLCS, so he hasn't been great in the postseason. But I know some people are like, calm down. I'm just evaluating what I'm seeing and what's being recorded. And he just hasn't been great. But I do subscribe to the opinion that Shohei Ohtani is probably the greatest baseball player of all time, and currently the best player in baseball. Likely win his fourth, fifth MVP. I can't even keep count anymore. And he deserves to win his fourth MVP. But in this series, he's been pretty bad. And in this game, so it helped him that he had that triple to start the game, and then he scores on a Mookie Betts double. And I just want to point out, not to nitpick or anything like that, he did hit the ball on a pitch that was outside the strike zone, that he was able to pull just enough to launch it to right field, and he got it into that gap, taking the outfielder some time to come get it. And you know that Ohtani has some wheels, so he's able to get to third. So I'm an amazing. Anytime that you can produce in any way that you can, Ohtani's one of those hitters that can hit the ball outside the strike zone and even launch it outside the ballpark. So as long as he can put, the bat on that ball, good things can happen with Ohtani. Not everyone can say that. So he triples first at bat, second at bat, he grounds out on 2 pitches. And again, it was a ball that was outside the strike zone. Stop me if you've heard that before. Then he strikes out on 3 pitches on a pitch that was outside the strike zone. And then he strikes out on 5 pitches on a pitch that was outside the strike zone. So essentially, 1, 2, 3, all 4 of his plate appearances ended by him swinging at a pitch outside the strike zone. Last game, he swung at 7 pitches outside the strike zone. This one, he swung at 6 pitches outside the strike zone. By far the most by the Dodgers all game. And again, not criticizing, just point it out, see it. It's there. It is what it is. Just evaluating that he's still finding it hard. And it's true that he's facing mostly left-handed pitchers, and he's having difficult determining what is a strike and what's a ball. That's just what's happening with him. But great that he was able to get that triple, score that run. He's productive. I mean, I've only 3 runs. He scored the one of the 3. So, good job by Ohtani. Then we get to Mookie Betts. And again, I mean, for the most part, for the rest of the game, he didn't do much. But that first double that he hit was monumental and important in, setting the tone. And, even important for Glasnow as well to get a lead. It's much better to pitch with a lead than to pitch from behind. So just great stuff straight out of the first inning for the Dodgers. But then he lines out on 2 pitches, then he strikes out twice. Will Smith, I was kind of surprised by the lineup, by the order of the lineup. We've already seen in 3 games, we've seen Freddie Freeman hit third. We've seen, who else? Teoscar hit third. And we've seen Will Smith hit third. So it's just the dynamic, or how dynamic that lineup is for the Dodgers, that any given day, you never know who can hit third for the Dodgers, third or fourth, depending on the pitching matchup. But he was fine, okay, so he struck out twice. One of the strikes out on 6 pitches, and then he singles, which the single that he had was important because then Freddie Freeman walks, and then Tommy Edman hits that single, and he reads that single perfectly. So he can, as soon as that ball was off Tommy Edman's bat, he could tell that it was going to drop, and he's, already rounding and headed to home plate. So the great base running for Will Smith, and then his 4th plate appearance, he walks on 4 pitches. Freddie Freeman here, even though if you look at the box score, it's going to say that he was 0-2. However, I thought Freddie Freeman, if we had to give an MVP of the offense, the MVP of the offense was Freddie Freeman. And again, if we go back to that run that Will Smith scored, so Will Smith singles, which it was needed. At that point, the ball game was 1-1. And was it Mishorowski was lights out at that point? He seemed like he was unhittable at that point. Will Smith singles, right? You're like, okay, a single, it's something, but I believe there were 2 outs. So there's 2 outs at this point, and Will Smith singles. Like, all right, it's a single, whatever. Freddie Freeman's coming next, and Freddie Freeman was battling. If we look at that, so the 3rd plate appearance, he had a foul, and then a ball, so 1-1, and then another foul. So he's 1-2 at this point in that plate appearance, and then he takes 3 consecutive balls to walk against Mishorowski, putting that player in scoring position, putting Will Smith in scoring position. Tie ball game. Tommy Edman comes through, but that walk was huge in order for the Dodgers to win that ball game. And there was an interesting point in that matchup. Freeman versus Mishorowski. I don't know how to say his name, and I can barely pronounce any names, but Mishorowski, I think is his name, where he was taking the pitch count. So Freddie Freeman would get into the batter's box early, and then on purpose, the pitcher would just wait until the pitch count got all the way down to like 3 or 2, and then pitch, just making the hitter wait because they can't just call timeout. So then after that, Freddie Freeman adjusted and was like, all right, you're going to make me wait, I'll make you wait. So then he was just stepping outside the batter's box, waiting until it was 9 seconds left, and then stepped up. I thought that was cool, just, some little mental gymnastics there between hitter and pitcher. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then, so we already talked about amazing base running by Will Smith on that play, on that Tommy Edman single, but also Freddie Freeman. So Freddie Freeman was on first, Edman hits it, and then boom, Freddie Freeman ends up on third, which turns out to be a great thing because then, what's his name, Uribe, trying to pick off Edman on first, just throws that ball over to, it does a bad throw. It goes near the dugout, and Freddie Freeman's able to score. So again, if we go back to the walk and his base running, Freddie Freeman really, these are things that are not going to show up in the box score, but things that he does that are winning, just adding more runs there at the end. And Tommy Edman, we already kind of talked about his single, which was, huge and important as well. Just as big as that walk by Freeman was that single by Edman. Then he strikes out. He struck out 3 times, but him and Kike Hernandez, they just seem to come through in the biggest moments all the time. Like, to me, I don't want to see anyone else except Edmund and Kike Hernandez. Whenever you need a run, there's runners in scoring position, or you need a run to go ahead, or you need a run to tie. Those are the two hitters that you kind of want stepping up to the plate, because they're coming through almost every single time. But Edmund didn't give you anything else, but that single was like really important. Teoscar, this was like an off day for him. He didn't really have anything going. He struck out, grounded out, and struck out again. So 2 strikes out and a ground out. Not much from Hernandez. Not much from Max Muncy, who I thought was the MVP offensively of last game, game 2. Here, he didn't really give much. 2 ground outs and a strikeout. Kike Hernandez also did not give you much. An interesting play in the outfield when I think it was Durbin hits that ball over to left field, and I mean, I think everybody knows that that ball was gonna drop, and but not Kike. I guess he thought that he could dive and catch it, but he was so far off. It was nowhere near close, that ball. But that just tells you that he believed so much in himself in October that he thought he could make that catch. No way. And then Pajes, he a good plate appearance for the first one where he singled, so he's kind of little by little, him and Ohtani are kind of coming out of it, getting singles, which is important instead of just those over games that they've had. So he singles, but then grounds out and strikes out. But again, the offense for the Dodgers did just enough to win the ball game. And then if we look at on the Brewers side, it really wasn't much. Like, the Brewers are really, really struggling. So for Churio, he was 0 for 4. That last plate appearance, it'd be interesting to keep an eye. It seems like he had cramps and he could not stay in the game to finish his at bat. So Perkins had to come in, and then Perkins comes in, and after the 4th pitch, or during the 4th pitch, fresh off, in the bench, down 0-2 on the count, and then he fouls. He takes a ball. He fouls, takes a ball, and then strikes out with a pitch outside the zone. But still, he only had 1 strike to spare, coming in fresh. So I thought Perkins was okay. Turang, he's just not giving anything, really not much to the Brewers at all. Strikes out twice and then lines out and flies out. Contreras, not much either. Yeah, he walked that first at bat, but then strikeout, ground out, fly out, and not really putting much of a fight. Yes, that first strikeout on 6 pitches, but then a 1-pitch ground out and a 2-pitch fly out. Yelich is not doing much either. Here, yeah, it counts. And again, this is why the box score, if you look at the box score, it's not going to tell you the full story. Yes, it's a single, but it was kind of like a mistake, like an oops hit, kind of little bloop to third where no one was covering, and then he makes it to first. But it's not like, oh man, Yelich singled, like, not really. And then he strikes out 3 times after that. Andrew Vaughn didn't do much either for the Brewers. Ground out, strikeout, walked, and then another ground out. Really, the only offense, so Frelick was terrible too. The only offense was Durbin. Here you go. I mean, Durbin was just a one-man wrecking crew for the Brew Crew. So he triples first appearance, and then Bowers singles him in. That's it. Really, I don't really think I can stop doing my analysis of the Brewers right now. That's pretty much it. It's a triple by Durbin, a single by Bowers, and that's all she wrote. But Durbin had really good at bats. He tripled, walked, and then doubled, and then struck out against Sasaki there at the end of the game. Bowers, like I said, what else can you ask for? He singled in a run, so that's pretty good, but then strikes out and flies out. Joey Ortiz is just such a liability on offense, I guess, because that dude's going to be an out. Like, I know it, you know it, everybody knows it. that this dude is going to be an out when he steps up to the plate, unless somebody walks him like Yamamoto last game. But otherwise, he's just ready to be an out. But, you know, this also tells you the ability of the Brewers to go and get a decent shortstop. It's slim, and there are not that many good. This has been historically true in baseball. Like shortstop typically are not good offensive weapons, right? You take out Jeter, A-Rod, Garcia Parra, Ripken. I think, you know, it's not Mookie Betts now becoming, or, you know, being a shortstop now for the Dodgers, and with that amazing play in the ninth inning. But you're not gonna find, or Lindor is another shortstop who's pretty good, but you're not gonna find many of those. Most shortstops are just not pretty good, or not good, and definitely the Brewers can't. There's a lack of good offensive shortstops, and the Brewers can afford them. And then Collins came in and flat out. So that was essentially it for the game. Again, the Dodgers take a commanding 3-0 lead, and it does appear that they're going to be headed to the World Series unless something crazy happens and the Brewers are able to find something that they haven't found yet. And it doesn't get any easier when you have Ohtani on the mound tomorrow, and then you have Blake Snell again for game 5, if there is a game 5. So I don't know. It doesn't look good for the Brewers. It does appear that the Dodgers will be going to the World Series again. But that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.